Good morning. I'd like to call the meeting into session. The first item of business is the approval of the minutes from the August 17th meeting. I move the approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries. The next item on the agenda is the report of the chair. So good morning and welcome to the August 31st, 2017 public meeting of the New York City Campaign Finance Board. Today's meeting is called to vote on approving the third public funds payment for the city's primary elections that will be held on Tuesday, September 12th. New York City's 6-to-1 matching funds program is an important investment in our political process. Voters were able to enjoy one of the many benefits of the matching funds program last week if they tuned into the first mayoral Democratic primary debate broadcast by New York One and WNYC. New Yorkers were treated to a sharp and substantive debate between Bill de Blasio and Sal Albanese. CFB staff is preparing preparations for the second mayoral Democratic debate on September 6th. That debate will be broadcast by CBS. Please be sure to tune in. At this time, I'll turn to CFB Executive Director Amy Loprest for her report, which is the next item on the agenda.
Okay, I only have a brief report. This Friday is another filing day for candidates in the primary election. Get in advance of the primary day, which is coming up quickly on September, oh my gosh, the date, 12th. No, it's the wrong date. Sorry, 14th. I wanted to just thank the staff and the candidates and the members of the public. We have had several trying weekends over the summer with our internet provider. We had the unfortunate instance that we had 2 weeks in a row having manhole fires that caused disruptions in our internet service that disrupted all of our operations, which was very difficult for the staff to work through. And I appreciate all the staff's efforts in coping with that, but also thanking the candidates and the members of the public who are also affected by their inability to reach our systems during the crucial summer months. It's was unfortunate, and hopefully our bad luck is behind us.
All right, you're done?
Yep.
The next item on the agenda concerns a decision of the chair on a Section 5-02A petition. Amy, I'll ask you to tee up this issue. The campaign of Molly Hormiku, candidate in the 2017 elections, filed a 502A petition after the board's decision at the last board meeting, determining that he was not eligible for payment. The staff has recommended to the chair that the petition be denied, and the chair concurred. And so now we are asking the board to ratify the chair's decision on denying that petition.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries. The next item on the agenda concerns the payments for this cycle of the payment process. Amy, would you like to describe what we're about to do?
Yes, the staff is recommending payments for the following candidates in the following districts. In Council District 2, Jorge Vasquez, $7,193. In District 4, Vanessa Aronson, $245. In District 6, Carrie Goodman, $285. In District 9, Cordell Clear, $4,816. And Marvin Holland, $16,554, and Bill Perkins, $199. In District 10, Jose Perez, $30,791. In District 14, Felix Perdomo, Perdomo, $2,736. In District 17, Helen Hines, $199. In District 21, Hyman Montserrat, $87,218. In District 24, Mohammed Rahman, $627. In District 27, Anthony Rivers, $32,290. In District 32, Michael Scala, $855. And Halal Sheikh, $3,277. In District 34, Tommy Torres, $3,534. In District 35, Jabari Brisport, $4,750. In District 38, Delvis Valdez, $55,547. In District 40, Pia Raymond, $256. In District 41, Alika Ampri Samuel, $1,265. And Deidre Oliveira, $3,676. And Corey Provost, $570. In District 43, Robert Capano, $285. And Vincenzo Chiraco, $2,850. In District 48, Marat Filler, $6,002 for total payments to 24 candidates in the amount of $266,020.
I'll move the approval of those payments. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? The motion carries. We have two candidates who are appearing in connection with proposed fines and or repayments. The first on our agenda is Joseph Kincannon. Is Mr. Kincannon here? Please have a seat at the table, and will the CFB staff involved in this matter take a seat at the other table? Welcome, Mr. Kincannon. Our procedure is that the CFB staff will make a very short sort of summary presentation of their position on the matter, and then I'll turn to you and the floor will be yours.
Good morning, Chair Schaefer, Executive Director Loprest, and members of the board, Mr. Kincannon. My name is Cameron Ferrante. I'm an Associate Counsel for the board, and with me today is Yasmin Castillo, a Senior Auditor with the CFB. Before the board is the matter of the Joseph Kincannon 2015 campaign in the 2015 general election. For City Council District 23, the candidate was a participant in the program and received $100,100 in public funds. CFB staff recommends that the board find that the campaign committed the following violation of the Act and board rules and assess penalties according to the penalty guidelines, accepting over-the-limit contributions. The campaign contests the recommended penalties and violations. Thanks.
Hannon?
Yeah, I'm not contesting that we went over the limit. It was a clerical error. On behalf of the campaign, we did hire a professional manager and CPA. So as the candidate and also the treasurer for the campaign, I thought I had things well in hand. Having two professionals kind of prevent me from coming into this little foray. All right. But obviously that did not work out well. We're ready to repay the amount, that's due, and we can make restitution for that.
Good.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No questions.
All right. Well, thank you for being with us today.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, I thought the other candidate just stepped out, but.
I believe our next candidate just stepped out, so we're just going to pause for a moment.
Yeah.
Sure.
When I said restitution, I meant the over the amount limit.
Wait. Okay. Well, because why don't we everybody put that down and turn that and turn the turn your mic back on. Thank you, Mr.
Well,
Kincannon.
do over, the restitution is, we admit through clerical error that we went over, all right? But that is a clerical error.
We understand.
That wasn't, some sort of malfeasance here.
We understand.
All right. So we're asking for mitigation on the penalty part of it. All right. So I guess that you'll take that up.
Absolutely.
So I understand. You're saying that the penalty should just be the overage, not the penalty plus the overage.
Well, I'd like to make the restitution for the overage since that was our error and we're admitting that error. All right. Since that was not done, intentionally to defraud the board or anything like that, I think $500 is a little much.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
We hear you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, I guess we can talk about the. Okay. We can talk about this. I'll just mention this for the public record.
Okay. Now, while we're waiting for the next candidate to rejoin us, we're just going to skip ahead to one candidate who's not appearing and deal with that matter. That's item 6 on your agenda, and that's the candidate is George Alvarez. Do you want to say something about that, Amy?
Yeah. When the board goes into deliberations, they will also be deliberating on recommended penalties for the George Alvarez campaign. He was a candidate in the 2016 A special election for Council District 17. The staff is recommending penalties for failing to report transactions, failing to demonstrate compliance with cash receipts and reporting requirements, failing to demonstrate compliance with reporting requirements for receipts and disbursements, failing to provide employment information for contributions in excess of $99, and accepting a contribution from a corporation. Mr. Alvarez was notified about this and is not contesting the staff's recommendations.
Thank you. All right, back to item 7 on our agenda. The next candidate who's appearing is Andrew Sullivan, who I gather is back in the room. So, Mr. Sullivan, please take a seat at the table, and CFB staff will take a seat at the other table. Mr. Sullivan, welcome. The way we're going to proceed is the staff makes a very short summary presentation of the issue and their position, and then I'll turn to you and you will have the floor.
Good afternoon. My name is Bethany Persky, Deputy General Counsel for the CFB, and with me is Nalasia Mingo, Senior Auditor for the CFB. Before the board is the matter of the Andrew Sullivan campaign for 2013 City Council District 47. Mr. Sullivan was a participant in the program but did not receive public funds. CFB staff is recommending that the board find that the campaign committed the following violations and assess penalties according to the penalty guidelines: failing to report a merchant account used for campaign purposes, failing to provide bank and merchant account statements, failing to report transactions, failing to demonstrate compliance with cash receipts reporting and documentation requirements, failing to demonstrate compliance with reporting requirements for receipts and disbursements, filing late disclosure statements, failing to file a disclosure statement, accepting an over-the-limit contribution, accepting contributions from corporations, limited liability companies, or partnerships, failing to document transactions, failing to report and document basic campaign functions or activities, maintaining a petty cash fund greater than $500, failing to respond to audit requests for information and documentation, failing to demonstrate that spending was in furtherance of the campaign, converting campaign funds to a personal use, submitting false contribution reporting and documentation, and material misrepresentation. And CFB staff is also recommending that the board find the campaign in breach of certification.
Okay, Mr. Sullivan.
Okay, that's a lot.
Can you just press the button in the microphone? Thank you.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guarantee you, you find people have never heard of anything like the campaign I went through in 2013. And I don't care how long you've been in it, no one's had a campaign like the one I just went through back in 2013. This campaign destroyed my life and my family, and I am still recovering, both financially, with my family, and emotionally. I lost 2 incredibly lucrative jobs because of this campaign, and all of this was caused by one person alone. And this person was a volunteer on my campaign, and she managed to hack into my campaign finance account after I had fired her. So for 7 months, unbeknownst to me, this woman was in my campaign finance board account causing God knows what havoc. This was a volunteer who developed an obsession with me. This woman brought me to court and through over a dozen investigations with city agencies. I spent 9 days in Rikers Island because of this woman and her sick stalking methods. I can't even imagine getting hit with this fine when my campaign didn't even raise as much as I'm being fined. I received no matching funds. Lots of my records were taken from me from this woman. Some of my records were taken from a man who I contracted to help get me through this audit. And now I cannot even find him after I paid him good money and he got all of the records I had left. His name was Chance Haywood, and I know you know him. He's worked on many campaigns for the city council here, and he's very familiar with this, but I paid him good money and I never got any of my records back. And Miss Maureen Daly also has records of mine that she never returned to me. And because of the fact that she had, after I went through 5 full-blown lawsuits in family court, in criminal court, in Nassau County and in Brooklyn, with a woman who I never touched, never, ever touched. I never led her on, ever. And I was cleared on every single thing she was accusing me of. And this woman to this day still is writing about me on Facebook. She has a Facebook account page dedicated to slandering me. You have no idea the impact this has had on my children. She used to follow my kids from school, her and her sister. People, it's no wonder to me why working class guys, blue collar guys don't run for public office. Because never in my life have I been exposed to such a ruthless, backstabbing industry. I know you guys are more on the technical side, but when you're out there in the field dealing with people and the gigantic infrastructure that is New York politics, it is the most disgusting sewer pit I've ever been involved in. And I am begging the board and everyone in here to have mercy on me. I don't know what else to do. I am just getting on my feet again. I cannot imagine being saddled with these fines. It would wreck my life. I've got 6 people who depend on the money I bring in. I don't know what else to say. I really don't. Thank you for this time.
Thank you. Further discussion of the bill?
Just to reiterate that the law, the rules, the guidance are all very clear that candidates are ultimately responsible for compliance for their own campaigns, and that they do sign the certification agreeing to be responsible for compliance and acknowledging that they may be subject to penalties for any violations.
Can I add one thing to that? I brought evidence to this board that Ms. Maureen Daly hacked into my account, and nothing was done by anyone here. Nobody did a thing. They told me to go to the police. I went to the police. They laughed at me. Okay? And I have proof, documented proof that I submitted when I caught her. I couldn't log in to do submissions one morning because she was already on there in my account. And that was 7 months after I had fired her.
Can you relate any of the specific violations that are alleged against your campaign? Can you relate any of those specifically to her access or her hacking in to your campaign information at that later stage?
Well, the one thing that I can tell you right now that she did, she has a family that she was related to that lives right in the district, and the names are Brody. And I think you flagged them because this family is very poor, and they would never donate to a political body. And I found out that there was questioning about the signature on these submissions. It turned out it was Miss Daly's signature on all 7 of these submission cards. Now, at this point, I had already fired her. And at the time, before my campaign finance board team member left me because everybody was afraid of this woman. I used to have a great campaign manager named Jay Golub. You might have heard of him, Jay. And then I had a campaign finance team that were a really crack team. They were really good. But once they got wind of Miss Daly and the way she was and how aggressive and backstabbing, and she was threatening to go to you people and report them for doing whatever and report them to the media. My whole entire team that were volunteering at the time, they were hoping I was going to get these funds, but they left because they were afraid to get their reputations tarnished by this woman. Anyway, I'm sorry to get sidetracked on that, but these Brody checks, I immediately had my campaign finance girl, Emma, send them all the money back, knowing full well Mrs. Daly must have gave the money herself, put up the money herself, and then distributed it amongst the 7 of these Brodies, and then signed all the submission cards and sent them in. But she did that early on before she got fired. And now it's being burdened on me, and I had nothing to do with it. As soon as I found out that there was some kind of problem with these checks, I immediately sent them their money back out of my own funds. So that was one instance. As far as to be honest with you, I can't even get into the C Smart account. I'm not that familiar. You know, I've gone past it, and I've been trying to forget this whole experience. To recall exactly, no, I'm sorry, I can't. You know, my strong point was getting out there, campaigning, meeting the people, talking, trying to see if I could make somebody's life better. And it turned out really backfiring.
Do you know Noreen Brody yourself? I mean, apart from this campaign?
The Brodies, I do not know. Miss Maureen Daly, oh, yes, very well.
That's what I was asking, whether you personally know the Brodies.
No.
And without asking you to relive it, what were the circumstances relating to the incarceration in Rikers?
Okay, what Miss Daly did was, and every man in this room should pay attention, because if a woman walks into a precinct and says that she's in an intimate relationship with you and you are abusing her, you will have an order of protection on you that day. That woman does not need to present any proof. And once you get a restraining order on you, men, you are now a hostage, because all that woman has to do is make one phone call and say you drove by and gave her the finger or said, I'm going to kill you. You get arrested. I don't care if you're in Europe. When you get back from Europe, there's a warrant for your arrest. All right. And what she did was she went to Brooklyn. She went to Nassau County. She said the same stories. Before I knew it, I had 2 restraining orders on me. I beat them both in court, and it took me months, and she plastered it all over social media on this Andy Sullivan, The Truth page, and she had 2 aliases where she was putting this restraining order out online for everyone to see. And then after I beat her in court with those restraining orders, she went directly to a Nassau County trooper station on the Southern State Parkway, and she said I tried to run her off the road with my vehicle. Okay, now this was a serious offense. This is a felony. Meanwhile, I'm at work with 100 guys, construction guys, underneath me that I'm running. I have tape of my vehicle in a parking spot, and you know that went to trial? And it took me 3 years to beat it. Even though I had 100 witnesses, I had a tape of my vehicle, and I went to the gym that morning, so they had me on the New York Sports Club, me tagging in that morning in New York City. So how could I be in New York City and Long Island at the same time? Still, that went to trial.
Now, the one in Brooklyn, which presumably linked to the incarceration.
What happened in Brooklyn? Well, when she had one of these restraining orders on me, she did just what I said. She called up and she said, "Oh, he drove by my house. He said he was gonna kill me." I get a call from the sergeant. He says, "You got to surrender. Turn yourself in." I turned myself in, and I'm in holdup for about 12 hours, and then I find out she did the report to the trooper. So now there's a warrant for my arrest when it comes up and they present my case. I was about to get let go that night, and then they said, "Oh, no, wait a second. We got something in Nassau County on Sullivan. We're going to hold him." And I stayed in lockup for 9 days in Rikers Island, fighting for my life.
And you ultimately prevailed in the Brooklyn case as well?
Every single case. Cost me over $100,000. All my college kids, money for my kids in college, gone, just so I could be a free man today. That's why I'm begging you. I'm begging you, please. If there's any room for mercy in all of this, I am a guy who, I deserve it. I've been through the meat grinder. And my family doesn't deserve it. They don't deserve it.
All right. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
The board will now go into deliberations. Thank you. All right, we're back in open session, and the next item on our agenda is to take a vote on penalties with respect to 3 candidates. The first candidate is George A. Alvarez. I'm going to read the proposed penalty or penalties with respect to Mr. Alvarez. Following are the alleged violations and recommended penalties. 1, failing to report transactions, $86. 2, failing to demonstrate compliance with cash receipts and reporting requirements, $325. 3, failing to demonstrate compliance with reporting requirements for receipts and disbursements, $500. 4, failing to provide employment information for contributions in excess of $99. Violation, no penalty. 5, accepting a contribution from a corporation, $1,250. And therefore, the total recommended penalties are $2,161. I move the approval of those findings and penalties.
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries. The next candidate is Joseph Concanon. There is 1 alleged violation, accepting over-the-limit contributions. The recommended penalty is $1,682. I move the adoption of that recommendation.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries. The third candidate is Andrew Sullivan. With respect to Mr. Sullivan, the board, after hearing his arguments, has decided to reflect further on this matter and will postpone the decision until our next meeting. With that, I will ask for a vote. I think we're going to do 2 in 1 here so we don't take up people's time unnecessarily. We need to go into executive session to discuss some pending litigation and other matters, and there's really no need to come back into open session except to adjourn. And so I'm going to make a motion that we go into executive session and thereafter immediately adjourn so we don't have to resume the open session. There's a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? We're going into an executive session to be followed by adjournment. Thank you.